I guess we've come to the end of this interview. Can you answer this final question for me? What are the key elements that make marketing successful?
Okay. What I would like our audience to take from this interview, one of the other things I would like them to take from this interview, which is very important, is that they need to realize that effective marketing is psychology and mathematics.
Can you elaborate on what you mean by marketing being psychology and mathematics?
Sure. Okay, let me explain it this way. Effective marketing needs four things. You need a star, a story, a solution, and an economic advantage. Let me explain what that means. In the direct marketing world, we are used to sending long copies, long letters. And most people who do not know anything about marketing complain that the letters are too long because people are too busy. But what the expert in direct marketing reckon, which is right, is that if someone has a problem, for example, if someone is sick or if he has a loved one who is sick, and then they receive a very long letter about the sickness, the question is, won't they read the letter? It doesn't matter how long the letter is. They're not going to say, gee, why didn't they make the letter short? They are going to read it. We all have this thing in our head. We think that people buy logically. There is this notion from most people is that most people make decisions logically, especially people in high places. Let me surprise you. It doesn't matter whether it's the President of the United States or the CEO of a Fortune 1000 company. They all make the buying decision emotionally. If you want to ensure that your marketing is effective, you've got to ensure that you follow this formula. You need to have a star, you need to have a story, and you need to have a solution. People love celebrities. They respect them and they look up to them, they idolize them. Which is why most of the big companies use celebrities to sell their product, because they understand the fact that people want to relate to them, they want to get a piece of them. So if you want to ensure that your marketing is effective, you could either use a real celebrity or you can manufacture one. Either way will do. Another thing is story. We've been programmed from small as kids to like story. Our parents read bedtime stories to us. All the religious books are full of stories. That is the most effective way of communicating. Therefore, when you're sending out your marketing message, it has to be accompanied with the story of your company, with your story. Who are you and why should I buy from you, or why should I believe you? And the next point is solution. What solutions are you going to give to people? Whatsoever they're buying from you, whether product or service, they are buying a solution. So it's very, very important that you've got a star, you've got a good story, and you've got a solution. Don't forget, facts tell, but story sell. The next part of the marketing process is having economic advantage. What do I mean by that? You see, marketing is buying customer. The more you are prepared or capable of paying for a customer, the more advantage you've got over your competitors. Marketing that succeed or businesses that succeed are those that know their numbers. They understand their marketing numbers. The simple question you need to ask yourself, or you keep asking yourself as a business, is how much am I willing to pay for a customer? As long as you can answer that question, how much am I willing to pay for a customer, and what is the gap between payment I make for a customer and the time that I make a profit? Those are the two questions that you need to keep asking yourself. How much will I spend for a customer, and how long will it take me to fill the gap between the time I make the initial sale and the time I make a profit? Some businesses are willing to spend a certain amount of money in the front end to acquire the customer because they understand that they could make profit in the back end. So basically, these are the questions you want to be asking yourself in terms of marketing. Question 1, what is the cost of my customer acquisition? Question 2, what is the lifetime value of each customer? And then question 3, which is the most important question, what is the gap between initial sales and profit?
It's been a long interview. Can you summarize the entire discussion for our audience?
Sure. Okay, what we've discussed so far is there are 3 steps to growing any business. The first step is customer attraction. The second step is increasing the volume per transaction. And the third step is increasing the frequency per purchase. In terms of customer attraction, what we said, in order to effectively market, you need to first craft a convincing marketing message, which is your USP or statement of benefit and your offer, the incentive for them to come to your business. We've also discussed that you need to identify your target market, because it's very important that you know who you are going to sell to. Because as we know, in most instances, you do not have the type of resources to sell to everyone. Therefore, identifying your target market is very important for efficient use of your marketing resources. The third step is to identify the media through which you are going to channel your marketing message. Because again, after you've had a message to market match, it is important that you place your marketing collaterals where your target market hangs out. We've also discussed increasing your volume per transaction. Now, in order to increase the volume per transaction, you need to structure your business in terms of the needs of your target market. You cannot focus your business on your service, on your product. You've got to constantly be thinking, what does my market want? What else can I give to them? Or what next can I do? That is how you constantly increase the volume per transaction and increase the value to your current customer. For example, as we said, a restaurant, instead of thinking in terms of food, you've got to think in terms of other services that you can provide to your market other packages, whether it's car, whether it's flowers, whether it's birthday party. You need to ensure that you provide them a package of things that they might need. If you're a lawyer, instead of just thinking about just focusing on law, you've got to focus that, for example, if you're an immigration lawyer and you help someone to obtain a resident permit in a country, what else would they need after obtaining the resident permit? These are the kind of things you have to think about. You need to think about, as we said, in terms of innovation, demand innovation, and next generation demand. What else would they need? What next can I do for my client? That is how you grow your business, through increasing the volume per transaction. We also discuss increasing the frequency of purchase. How do you do that? You need to create a customer base that you communicate with constantly. You need to grow your personal network. You need to develop your product and service guidelines. You need to start the relationship from the beginning right. You need to program for referral. You need to acknowledge and reward referral. And you need to reciprocate. It's very important that you reciprocate, because that is the best way of influencing people. And finally, we discuss that marketing is psychology and mathematics. You need to be aware that marketing, first of all, is emotional. Everyone makes marketing decisions emotionally. It doesn't matter who the person is. Therefore, you need to ensure that you've got a story, a star, and a solution. And then, marketing is mathematics. Marketing is economics. You need to know your numbers. How much are you willing to pay to acquire a customer? What is the lifetime value of your customer? What is a customer worth to you? And what is the gap between initial purchase and your profit margin? I will tell you something. There is a good news and a bad news. The bad news is this. This information I've given to you is very complex. This is not a simple marketing process. So many marketers are not going to adapt this type of marketing process because it is very complicated. The good news is that your competition is not going to adapt this process either, which means that if you decide to focus on growing your business using this information that I've provided you, you will be among the 1% in your industry that is adopting this kind of complex marketing system. In the final analysis, business growth is about obtaining critical mass. What do I mean by critical mass? I mean reaching a point that you no longer need to prospect as a business. And to reach that point that you no longer need to prospect, again, you first need to attract the client, but then you need to put in place a system of compound prospecting, ensuring that those clients that you've attracted are basically bringing in more clients for you. create a referral system, create a whole customer activation system, and ensuring that you incentivize them to be your sales force. Because testimonial, again, is the best form of marketing. When you say it about yourself, you're boasting. When someone says it about you, it's right. Finally, remember, you make a sale to get customer. You do not get customer to make a sale. That is the distinction between being wealthy and being poor, like my coach that I spoke about. What you need to understand as a business that is this. When you make a sale, when you acquire a customer, it's customer for life. You sell to them until they no longer exist. You see, there is no one-time sale than a funeral undertaker. But there is this guy who has made a business out of selling to dead people. So if it can work for him, it can also work for you. If this guy can resell to dead people, you can resell to the living. Front end sale, which is the initial sale, gives you money. Back end sales create wealth. Repeat sales is what create wealth for you. This is what has made most entrepreneurs successful and wealthy, and this is what will make you successful and wealthy. Thank you very much.
Well, we hope this has been helpful to you. If you require more information about Romeo Richards, please visit www.theprofitexperts.co.uk or call 444 161 945 or 1754. On this site you can purchase more of Romeo's products, but you can also book private consultations with him, and you can hire him to organise and run a marketing campaign for you. Thanks for taking the time to listen to or watch this video again. If you need more information, please log on to www.theprofitexperts.co.uk or call 0800 876 6608, and for international 44 161 945 1754. Remember, no margin, no mission.